She's grabbed from behind and turns to see her friend who is telling the story. Come on, we have to go. She still doesn't move.
I'm surprised he's just waiting there to tell her that. He should be dipping. Like, what? Yo, he's a good friend, I guess. Or a stupid one.
Later, in the void.
What's going on, everyone? It's your boy Savvy, and welcome back to the Savvy Show. And in today's episode, y'all see what's on the screen, guys, is Dr. Bob. I was going to cover this a little bit earlier when it dropped, but I had no idea when it was going to drop. However, I'm glad it's here today. If you guys are excited, please remember to smash that like button. And also the last video of SCP-5000. I appreciate all the love that you guys gave me on that video. The goal was at least 100 likes. I was assuming we were going to hit that probably in the few days, but we literally reached that goal within the first day. So I really appreciate it. I'm glad that you guys all enjoyed that reaction. With this one, let's try to get 100 likes again on this. This seems like a really cool one. This is SCP-2863, the Starving Skeletons. So it seems like it's going to be a group, not just one anomaly, and it'll be interesting. Hopefully it's a gruesome one because you know my vibe. So hopefully we get that today. So with that being said, remember, smash that like button if you do enjoy the video. Hit that bell so you can stay plugged for each and every upload. And remember, smash that sub button so you can come along for the journey. So with that all out the way, let's get this show started. Alrighty, SCP-2863, the Starving Skeletons. Let's go.
The young couple held hands as they walked through the forest, the only light coming from the full moon which streamed down between the branches. The young woman is riveted by her friend's story. She's never been a fan of ghost stories. She scares too easily, but her friends insisted. But what they didn't know was that there was something else out there in the forest. Something watching them. The young woman can't help but look around, scanning the forest to see if there's anything out there watching her.
Classic
But it's
campfire
too dark
tales.
to see anything past the dim ring of light cast by the campfire. Just then, something emerged from the forest. The couple had no idea that it was just feet behind them, matching them step for step. Slowly, it began to reach out towards them.
Uh-oh.
What was it? The young woman instinctually asked. It was the Gashadokuro. The young woman screams in fear as she is grabbed from behind.
Someone's wearing a
skeleton.
mask.
But of course, the laughing of her friends clues her in immediately that this is not a real Gashadokuro. It's just her stupid friend in a mask.
Gashadokuro. Wow, that's a pretty hard thing to say, but
No one can contain their laughter. Even the young woman has to laugh a little. As her friend takes off his cheap skull mask, she playfully hits him in the arm. You jerk! You should have seen the look on your... The gigantic shrieking skeleton
Holy
leaps
shit.
from the woods and picks up the young man, shoving him straight into his mouth and consuming him. The boy crying out as his bones are snapped between its enormous jaws.
0 to 100 real quick. Those are giants. I did not expect them to be that huge. What the heck?
Everyone screams and turns to run. But another colossal skeleton emerges from the forest,
God.
picking up two of the group, one in each hand, before smashing them together over and over, leaving nothing but a tenderized pile of flesh between its bony fingers that it then begins to devour. The young woman doesn't know what to do. She's petrified with fear, unable to move or even think. She's grabbed from behind and turns to see her friend who is telling the story. Come on, we have to go. She still doesn't move.
I'm surprised he's just waiting there to tell her that. He should be dipping. Like, what? Yo, he's a good friend, I guess. Or a stupid one.
She can't tear herself away from watching the horror that's playing out in front of her. But he grabs her hand and forcefully pulls her into the forest behind him. As they run through the woods, they can hear the sounds of their friends being eaten by the enormous skeletons. There's nothing they can do to help them, though. All they can do is run. The two sprint as fast as they can through the thick, dark forest, jumping over fallen trees, hoping that there's solid ground on the other side. The young woman's foot catches in a root, and she falls hard to the ground.
Oh my God, classic.
Her friend stops and quickly comes back. As he is helping her stand up out of the mud, they both notice something. A sound.
Dang, she just tripped. She looked like she got beat up. Why does she look so rough?
The heavy thuds of another giant skeleton, and it's getting closer to them. Come on, we have to keep going. With a loud shriek, a huge bony hand emerges from the forest and grabs the young man. The young woman watches as he is lifted 100 feet into the air and stuffed whole into the gargantuan skeleton's mouth. She steps slowly backwards, knowing that she will soon meet the same fate, until the earth disappears beneath her feet. She tumbles down the hillside, somersaulting end over end, crashing through the brush on the hillside until dropping over an embankment.
Oh my
If
God.
the fall down the hill knocked her out, then the drop over the embankment was enough to wake her
She's
back
going
up.
through it.
Her wits come back just enough for her to roll under the embankment's ledge, and not a moment too soon. She huddles under the ledge and watches as the two skeletons stride over her hiding place.
Only two?
Continue on deeper into the forest. She listens until the sounds of their thudding steps disappear. She doesn't know what to do. Should she try to get back to the campsite and see if any of her friends are still alive?
Still alive? Unless she's talking about friends that wasn't within the group telling the story at the campfire, then that would make sense. But bro, they're probably dead. And they remind me of Titans from Attack on Titans, just skeleton versions of them. They're freaking huge.
If they are, they might need her help. But what if there are more of these things out there? What if they come back, looking for her? Her mind races, unsure of what to do, and she has trouble thinking clearly. Her ears are ringing from her tumble down the hillside, and her teeth audibly chatter in fear. As she debates her next move, trying to make sense of the nightmare she's found herself in, she suddenly notices something. A shadow cast by the moonlight begins to grow on the ground in front of her.
There they are.
That's when she realizes something else.
What's that cracking?
It's not her teeth that are chattering. The sound is coming from somewhere else. She stands up and turns around to see a huge skull slowly rising up behind her. The giant skeleton, this one even bigger than the others, reaches out towards her. The girl closes her eyes, preparing to meet her fate as the skeleton starts to shriek. But it's a different kind of sound. She opens her eyes and is almost blinded by the intense white light on the skeleton's face. It sounds like it is shrieking in pain from the light being cast on it, and she's forced to turn away and shield her eyes. As she does so, she sees the source of light. It's a man in a uniform. He looks like some sort of tactical police officer, but instead of a gun, he's holding an enormous flashlight that he's pointing at the skeleton. More men who are dressed just the same emerge from the woods, blasting the skeleton with more light.
They don't like light?
It continues shrieking, but seems helpless to do anything. She watches as the skeleton seems to lose its form, slowly disintegrating in the light, until eventually it disappears completely. Later, the young woman is sitting in the back of a van with a blanket wrapped around her shoulders. One of the policemen, at least she thinks he must be a policeman, brings her a hot drink. She still can't believe what she saw that night.
She's extremely lucky.
The monstrous creatures that killed and ate her friends. It felt like it wasn't real, like she was watching a movie play.
Crack their head like they're cracking eggs. Yo, I can't imagine. Traumatized for sure.
She was watching a movie play out. Were those Gashadokuro? She asks. A man in a white lab coat looks up from a nearby table where he had been working on something. She thinks he must be a doctor of some kind. Yes, he tells her, or something similar to them.
Is it Dr.
Maybe
Bob?
they inspired the myth of the Gashadokuro. Maybe the myth inspired them. We simply don't know. She asks. All my friends are dead, he interjects. I know this is hard for you. Getting chased by giant anomalous skeletons and watching your friends eaten alive would be tough for anyone to deal with.
Exactly.
The young woman starts to sob, the weight of the moment finally hitting her. But I have some good news, he tells her.
You're alive.
She sniffs and looks up at the
good
doctor.
news.
Believe it or not, I've seen this thing happen a lot. And you don't have to worry, because you're not going to remember any of this. Ouch! The young woman cries, and looks down to see that he has jabbed her in the thigh with a syringe. She tries to push him away, but she's already feeling weak and disoriented. She sways a little before her eyes shut, and she passes out. The young woman wakes in the cheery morning light of her own bedroom. She yawns and stretches, the strange dream about skeletons in the forest already drifting from her mind. Konnichiwa.
What about her friends, though? Like, I could understand that they're wiping her memory from, the anomalies, but did they wipe her memory of all her friends that died? Because it's not like they could just bring them back. And if that's not the case, she's going to realize they're missing. Oh, no. I feel like there's a lot of loose ends. I think it might have been better if they probably would have just killed her, but that's just me.
I'm Dr. Bob, and today's file is a terrifying anomalous entity referred to in Japan as the Gashadokuro, but known by the SCP Foundation as SCP-2863, the Starving Skeletons.
Okay.
SCP-2863 is not just one, but an entire population of entities that resemble gigantic human skeletons. These enormous bony creatures' size can vary, but on average they are approximately 30 meters tall. While their exact number is unknown, over 200 separate individual instances have been identified and cataloged, with each having distinctive markings, such as their bones having different types of damage or burn marks present.
Dang.
SCP-2863 instances are currently found exclusively in Japan, where they will appear only after sunset. It is still unknown if the skeletons are sapient, though they do appear sentient as they engage in their primary behavior of hunting down and consuming humans.
So they just manifest out of nowhere when the sun's down? Because it seemed like the big one was coming from underground. But, I don't know.
Despite their enormous size, they are capable of moving very quietly when they want to, though there have been reports from survivors of their appearance being preceded by a rattling-like sound, which may be their own teeth or giant bones hitting against each other.
The arthritis.
Once they have caught a human, they will immediately devour them, with the human's blood appearing to be absorbed directly into their bones, since they lack any digestive organs. It is unknown if they require the blood of humans for sustenance, or if their predatory behavior is motivated by something else. Monitoring and control of SCP-2863 instances was previously the responsibility of the Imperial Japanese Anomalous Matters Examination Agency. The IJAMEA, which as the name suggests, was Imperial Japan's answer to the SCP Foundation, tasked with investigating the strange anomalies within their own borders for the benefit of the Empire. Several of the IJAMEA agents who had been investigating the Gashadokuro at the end of World War II transferred to the SCP Foundation when the Anomalous Matters Examination Agency was disbanded, and continued their work on the anomaly. They also provided their original files on the anomaly, which gave the Foundation their first information on the giant anomalous skeletons. According to the IJAMEA's translated file, Gashadokuro are created by mass death, by the concentrated suffering of hundreds. While the Gashadokuro will eventually fade, they remain for centuries after their creation, lingering until their sorrow has diffused and faded. There is no way to hasten this process. The IJAMEA file also explained that while conventional weaponry is useless against the anomalous skeletons, light can be used to banish the creatures, and either natural daylight or man-made light will suffice.
That's interesting. So they come into existence from a lot of death. So I'm assuming from wars and everything that happened in Japan. These skeletons manifest from those fallen comrades, or, just regular people. They kind of remind me of hollows from Bleach, but on just a different scale.
When exposed to light, the skeletons will start to lose their corporeal form until they fade away completely. This doesn't kill instances of SCP-2863, though. It only temporarily neutralizes them, and appearances of the same instance will often be reported the very next night. Just as the IJAMEA had noted in their file, the SCP Foundation also made the connection between SCP-2863 and locations of mass suffering. While Imperial Japan's Anomalous Investigation Unit identified 203 instances of SCP-2863, the Foundation has since become aware of 3 others, each of which were found at sites connected to death and destruction. The first new instance was found near Nanjing, China, the location of an especially brutal massacre during the Second World War that may have resulted in as many as 300,000 deaths. It's believed that the entity first appeared in this location in 1938, just after the massacre, while the city was still under the control of Imperial Japan. This has led some to speculate that the locations where Gashadokuro appear are inherently tied to the borders of Japan as a nation and have fluctuated with geopolitical changes. The second was discovered several kilometers from Fukuoka City in Japan, a city that saw heavy firebombing by Allied forces during the war. The third was identified in 2011 in the Tohoku region of Japan, which is where the Fukushima nuclear disaster occurred. Each of these new instances appeared to bear injuries consistent with someone who suffered through the nearby tragedies, with the first showing evidence of crushed bones, the second appearing to have suffered intense burning, and the third missing teeth, which is common in cases of extreme radiation poisoning. These specific injuries add further evidence of the connection the Gashadokuro may have to human misery. The impermanent nature of SCP-2863 and their ability to manifest even after being neutralized has made long-term containment of this anomaly all but impossible. And they have been classified as Keter.
Hi, Keter.
In the event that an instance is spotted, Mobile Task Force Omicron 3 is dispatched to the area, where they will attempt to neutralize the entity through the use of high-powered floodlights. Any civilians who are exposed to SCP-2863 and survive are given Class A amnestics, so that they can hopefully move on with their lives and forget their horrifying encounter with the starving skeletons.
Yeah, the encounter. So how is she going to explain her friends just up and disappearing,
Now go and watch another entry from the files of Dr. Bob, like SCP-966, Sleep Killer, for another anomaly who has decided to make humans its preferred prey.
Where's your flashlight?
And make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss a single anomaly as we delve further and further into the SCP Foundation's classified archives.
That's it. I'm assuming. Yep. Yo, this was a cool one. I did not expect them to be pseudo-titans. Straight up, I thought they would just be regular-sized skeletons. But they did say that they come in various different sizes. So this was an interesting one. This was really cool. Really cool indeed. And it makes sense where it's a Keter, because it just seems like they'll keep on manifesting, because obviously death is not going to stop. And it's kind of cool that this was kind of like an urban legend within this universe or this canon of this story compared to just being an anomaly, because like the kids already knew about this creature or, you know, this SCP before it even happened. So it was an interesting twist. If you guys enjoyed it, please remember to smash that like button. Also smash the sub button, join the family if you're not already part of it, and also hit that bell so you can stay plugged for each and every upload. And unfortunately, that concludes today's episode. However, I'll catch you guys on the next one.